Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's working. Cool. Hi, my name is Chycho, and I'd like to welcome you to Series 4 of the Language of Mathematics. Now, what we're going to do right now is do a little introduction to this series because there's a fair bit of stuff that we're going to cover in this series. And this series is extremely important because what we're going to do with this series is take the previous 4 series that we've done, Series 1, Series 2, Series 3A, and 3B. And what we're going to do is take a look at how we can convert that, how we can use that information in the real world, right? So we're going to acquire the tools that we need to be able to use math in real life, right? And there's 3 things we're going to talk about, okay? One of them is units and ratios. That's going to be, a section on its own. One of them is going to be, talking about graphs and functions, and another one is going to be a little bit more on 0 and infinity, okay? So let me lay this out, and we'll talk a little bit about what each one's going to contain. Big chalk. Okay, hopefully that comes out. You can read it. It's a little bit far away, but that's okay. This says units and ratios. The other one is graphs and functions, f of x, and 0 and infinity. And this is what we're going to try to cover in Series 4, okay? The most important part, well, they're all important, but the largest thing we're going to focus on, and we're going to beat this thing to a pulp, okay, is units and ratios. The reason for this is because units and ratios is basically the foundation of everything that our system is set up on, everything that our civilization is set up on, everything that society is set up on, okay? Units is basically just talking about what we are talking about, right? In what may it be economics, may it be politics, may it be, buying food, may it be measuring things, may it be for equality, sustainability. It's basically the foundation of where we started to use mathematics in the real world, where we began to apply mathematics in the real world, which is giving a quantity to a specific unit, to a specific something, right? And ratios is basically us comparing 2 things, right? 2 hours of work for this much money, 2 apples for this many, this much money, or this many other fruit, barter system, this amount of time for this much distance, this stock for this price, this work for this job, whatever you want to think about it. This is basically the foundation of us, the beginning of us being able to use mathematics in the real world in our present system, okay? Units and ratios. I don't know if you would call it the most important section that we're tackling or we have tackled, but it is the most useful section that you're going to deal with, or we're going to deal with, because you're going to use this directly in your life. And even if you know you've been using it or not, you have been using it. Every time you go to a store to buy something, when it may be a piece of gum, may it be film, may it be buying a ticket to go see a movie, you're using this, right? You're giving a certain amount of money, a unit of something, for receiving something, a unit of something else, okay? The other section that we're going to talk about is graphs and functions. And graphs and functions is, we got our hands really dirty with talking about functions and how to break down functions, and dealing with polynomials and what polynomials are, but we really haven't talked about what functions are, right? And we looked at some graphs in Series 3A and 3B, but we really didn't talk about how to look at graphs and what graphs mean and what types of graphs there are. So what we're going to do is take a serious step back and talk about graphs and functions, define functions, and talk about how we go about reading graphs, different types of graphs. And this is super important because we're visual beings, right? So when we talk about units, when we talk about data, when we talk about numbers, right, it's easier for us to process that information when it's put in graph form. And majority of the graphs that we deal with, that our society is based on, that we do models for, are functions, right? For every input, there's a specific output. Okay, and we're going to talk about this. So we're going to step back and take a look at how we read graphs and what functions are and what type of functions we may have coming our way when dealing with things. Okay. The other section we're going to talk about is 0 and infinity. And 0 and infinity, I did one video in series 1. I think it was in the first 5 videos we did, just talking about what it means in the most simplistic form of dividing something by 0 or dividing something by an extremely large number, infinity, right? So we're going to expand on this, and this section, it's going to take us a long time to deal with this. And we started, series 1 had one video on this, which is basically the most simplistic form of a limit, right? And, there's one video you could watch of this and take it with a grain of salt, but we're going to expand on this concept, 0 infinity. And this section here is going to stay with us all the way to the end of, what my plans are for the language of mathematics and math in real life, which is doing an introductory course in calculus. And when we get to calculus, we'll explore this to where I understand it, okay? And it's going to continuously come up in every other section that we do, in every other series that we do. So 0 infinity, we're going to talk about it a little bit, and it's going to be more philosophical than mathematical, okay? One thing to keep in mind is there's going to be prerequisites for this. For this section, I'm going to let you know when we do the full introduction for this unit, for this section, of what videos you need to watch or you need to have a good grasp of before looking at this, okay? Same with this. I'm going to let you know what you need to know before this. And 0 infinity, well, you really don't need to know much. There's only one video you can take a look at. But there's the real number set video that we did at the beginning, which is a foundation, the basis of the way we laid out mathematics for us, right? What numbers are, and it's a pretty good idea for you to get to know that as well. But we'll talk a lot more about these later. Okay. So that's what we're going to cover for Series 4. I hope you like. I'm personally excited to deal with this. There's a fair bit of stuff I've laid out, and we'll try to put it together and present it in the proper order so it all makes sense. And keep in mind that all of these things are connected, right? These 0 and infinity is basically showing us where our pitfalls are for our functions that we've graphed, that we're trying to model, understand, or visually present the data that we've collected, the units that we're talking about, when we're comparing two things, how a function moves, right? How one thing relates to another. So all these three things are related. We're just going to tackle them separately, and when we're gotten to a nice place, we're going to connect them all up and see how they relate to each other. Okay, and again, this is probably going to take longer than one torrent to do. So Series 4 is most likely going to be broken up, just like Series 3 was. So there's going to be most likely Series 4A, Series 4B, and possibly Series 4C, depending on how well we can put everything together and mesh everything together, and how long we have with the weather, and how much work we can get done in the amount of time that we have. Okay. And that's about it, I guess. Glad to be back. Hope you're having a good time. Hope you're enjoying your summer of 2011, and getting excited to delve into this and play around with it and see what we come up with. Okay, that's it for now. I guess I'll see you guys in the next videos. Bye. Now, before we get started, just a couple of notes. Okay, in the last few years, people have said that the sound quality for the video sometimes is not very good because there's been a lot of wind and a lot of traffic, a lot of noise. And the video quality, well, I'm functioning with a little camera that I bought like 5 years ago. So I've upgraded my system. and I'm going to show you what I got. Okay, well, I'm going to show you one part of what I got, which is the voice thing. Okay, now because people have been saying, the sound hasn't been coming out well, I looked into it and I, talked about it with a friend of mine that we did the remainder theorem video, one of the last videos we did for Series 3B, and that came out really well, and I learned a lot doing that with someone else that knows their stuff, knows their camera work and how to deal with sound and how to edit. So I went out and I bought the lowest, the best system I could afford, which is one of the lowest systems I could get. Okay, so I ended up going and getting little digital recorder and some kind of mic system, semi-professional, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, this way I can hook this up, and and hopefully the sound, when I go into the editing, I can overlay the things together, and even when I'm far away, you should be able to hear me. Okay, so I'm going to set this up right now, and we'll see what it sounds like. Okay. There's a lot of things to take care of. You got to turn this on, turn that on, do this, put the things in the right folders and whatnot. But hopefully it'll all work out. So turn this on, do a little. Actually, let's split this up. So the deal is, bring this guy up, and here's a little mic. Like, it's got a little hook. So I'm gonna set this up here. I did a little test run a few days ago, and I think it should all work out fine. Hope so, anyway. Now I'm going to be moving around a lot, so hopefully there isn't too much scratchy sound coming up. Okay. And that thing's on, and what we're going to do is press record, and hopefully when I go into the editing, the voice, this voice that you're hearing, and by the way, this is an upgraded camera as well, but I'll talk about that as soon as we get the voice set. Okay, so press record, and this thing seems like it's recording, and hello, see the bar going across? So this thing's pretty much set up. I'm just going to put it on hold. So everything's turned on. This thing goes in my pocket. So we're all set up with the sound quality, and I hope in the editing right now the sound is coming out a lot sharper and a lot better. And so we've gotten sound taken care of. As far as the video quality goes, when I started this project about 5 years ago, 2007 I guess, or 4 years ago, I could only afford a certain level of camera, which was basically the lowest end camera that they offered, which was almost all the videos from the previous 4 years that we've done for the language of mathematics have been shot with this other camera that I'm going to show you. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to give credit where credit is due, and a lot of people have been asking me, what camera it is that I've been making the videos with, not just the math videos, but other things as well. And again, it was when I bought this camera. At the time it cost me $360, and that was in 2007. That was a lot of money for me, and it's still a lot of money for me. But it served us well, and I really want to give credit where credit is due, because I'm going to be keeping this thing for a while. Now, this camera, it's a Canon ZR-800, and it records little mini DVs, tapes that I've been recording on. So I got a lot of these things from the last 4 years, holding a lot of mathematics. Most of the stuff, well, the majority of the stuff I used, there was some stuff I didn't use because either the sound didn't come out well or the video quality wasn't that good. Okay, so just credit where credit is due, and hopefully in the next whatever time we're going to end up using this other camera with, and if it serves us well, I'll do another one, come out in front of a better grade system and show you what the camera is that we're shooting in right now. And so that's where we are, and we got nice sound now. So let's start the mathematics and talk about what we're going to do in this series. Okay.